And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of the Fighting Fit Show. Today I'm joined with Chris and Brandon as usual, and we will be discussing the Garda Fitness test that has been in the news recently. Are the standards too high? What is the actual test? Should they decrease the standards, let's say? Or, in my opinion, should they increase the standards? So lads, just before we kind of really get into it, does anybody have any beliefs or what is your background knowledge on this topic? Have you seen the post? Have you seen what I'm talking about?
I seen the video. I watched the video. I think maybe it was you that shared it. And, you know, like, to be fair, I kind of understand the thinking. Obviously, like, we're trying to recruit guards. Like, if the numbers are down, obviously, easy way to, you know, lower the barrier to entry is the fitness test. But why do I just get the feeling that it's kind of like maybe that's not why you're not recruiting guards? I feel like nearly the opposite would be true. If you were to raise the standard, there might be a little bit more of, you might get a little bit more of a positive identity. It's like, oh, if we turn the guards into something elite, maybe people would actually want to be a part of it, as opposed to going, all right, well, they're just the fucking guards, piss poor fucking thing, but you have the taser or whatever they have there. They've got a big shtick. You'll be all right. And something. Maybe as a side note to that is like maybe something that you should be doing with the guards is like maybe we should be doing jiu-jitsu trainer or something like that to actually, again, up the standards. I'm 100% up for upping the standards, but I don't know, are we in a crisis of not having guards? Because that's not good either.
Chris?
So I'm not 100% sure what the standard is. I thought it was something like 20 push-ups a mile in like 10 minutes or 12 minutes or something like that. And then, like, I'm not 100% sure what all the standards are, but I do know that in terms of combat training, they're, like, under-trained massively, but they're given, like, a stick and told, like, that's good enough. And maybe that is effective. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that there are loads of guards that are really out of shape, and they should be fitter. I feel like if they're going to be chasing people and trying to make sure everyone's safe, they should be at least competent in the area of fitness and like hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, but and
Brand said jiu-jitsu I think is a great shout to kind of incorporate that into the, because obviously you're not going to be punching people in the face, but to be able to kind of grapple somebody and kind of pin them down, I'm sure is going to be important. There is obviously a certain stereotype around guards, particularly perpetuated by The Simpsons, of guards being donut-eating fat, lazy slobs, which is not necessarily true. But I kind of like your idea, Brand. This is kind of what I'm saying is like, yeah, like, let's create a vision for, for a better, safer future. And, the guards being at the front line of that, I think is important. But let's have a look at the standards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the, let me see if I can figure out how to do this, from RTE that kind of essentially discusses this. And it gives a brief overview in terms of what the actual test is.
Fit to work. This training video released by the Garda press office sets out the minimum requirements to pass the pre-selection fitness test for Garda Síochána, but a high proportion of failures last year has raised questions about its suitability. That's according to Fianna Fáil's Justice spokesperson Jim O'Callaghan, who says around 1 in 6 failed the test last year. He's concerned it's too demanding and maybe a block to recruitment.
There's nobody suggesting that we want people in the force who aren't fit. But what we need to do is to look to see, is the fitness test that's there at present, is it too demanding on them? And is that the reason why we're not recruiting enough Gardaí?
The test involves a shuttle run, push-ups and sit-ups, an obstacle course, and a push-pull machine that mimics a struggle with the suspect. Section targets can vary by age and the gender of the applicant. For example, males aged between 18 and 25 are asked to complete 25 push-ups.
The Garda Representatives Association says the test was designed in consultation with experts and is an appropriate assessment of the skills required for the job in Ireland. adding that the problems with recruitment lie elsewhere.
But some fitness experts say the test doesn't go far enough.
Reducing the fitness level would be wrong, but an even bigger issue is that they're never, ever assessed again during their career. Now, I believe there's something seriously wrong there and needs to be addressed.
The Minister for Justice, Simon Harris, said he doesn't think the test should be eased, and his priority is to recruit 1,000 Gardaí through Templemore this year. Killian Sherlock, RTE News.
So, there you go.
One thing I would say to that is, like, imagine you wanted to protect and serve your country, and yet know you're the kind of person to bitch out of a fitness test. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, fuck off. You don't belong. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the standard that you want, it was like, why the hell would you want, like, because again, like, and something else I would be thinking as well is like, why is the standard different for men and women? Obviously, I understand that there's massive physical differences, but if the job is, fucking having altercation with, a man and you're a woman, is like, shouldn't you be just as strong as like, or maybe this is where kind of something like jiu-jitsu would come in, where it's kind of like, well, maybe strength isn't what we should be relying on. Maybe it should be skill and competence to make sure that you can kind of, withstand an aggressor or whatever like that. Because for talk's sake, it's all well and good being able to push and pull a machine or do 25 chest to ground pull-ups at a lower standard. But it's like, what if the situation comes up that, you need to be stronger than that? And then, as I said, yeah, obviously, great point. It's like they should be retested constantly. But I feel like last thing I'll say, sorry, but I feel like these standards are set by people who aren't in the life. And I just kind of feel like, as somebody who is really passionate about fitness, and this is kind of something that I do really regularly, like, and I understand what it's like to try and set a standard for something that you're not in the scope of. It's like, you've absolutely no idea what's reasonable. Like, if somebody went along and started telling me, what standard should be set for, again, let's go back to jiu-jitsu, for like physical altercations, like, I have no idea. So I could say, it's like, oh, maybe a purple belt is too much of a push, or maybe it should be lowered down to a blue belt or whatever like that. But again, like, I don't know what the standard is. Right. And so I feel like, some of these people setting the fitness test, like, they don't know what the standard is because they don't live it.
The standard in general is like a blue belt will basically should tap out like anyone who's not done jiu-jitsu before, like, no problem.
Yeah, well, that's a great standard to have.
So like
how many years does it take to become a blue belt in jiu-jitsu? Let's say
it depends how often you're training, all that sort of stuff.
You're probably talking
about a year of consistent hard training, like, and you could get your blue belt. Yeah.
Really?
Okay, for the average person.
Like if you're training 4 or 5 times a week, Joe, an hour every single time you train, you're rolling with like a blue belt. Like,
one to 2 years.
Yeah, that would be quick. That would be quick, but. The fact that they're not being retested as well is, like, I think that's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. How, like, I wonder how many people get away just because they run.
Yeah.
Like, just because they run.
They're not going to catch. Like, most guards are not going to catch in a foot race if you're above average fitness.
Yeah, they're wearing big boots and everything.
Yeah, but so before we any kind of deeper into it, let me kind of just run over for anyone listening what the actual standards are, especially our members, and we'll try to kind of relate them to kind of some of the standards that we have. I would kind of relate that to, like, say the person that come in, smash the foundations, or smashed a global assessment, and has basically avoided every single global assessment since, so that they're kind of resting on their laurels, but their fitness maybe is decreasing, and people just avoid the tests. Let's have a look here.
Sorry, I would liken that. I would liken that to a coach doing that, because really, realistically, like we're holding these people to a higher standard. Realistically, aren't we? It's like if you're the authority, it's not like we don't want you to be, just scraping by. It's like you're the standard. Like, yeah. So it's like it'd be if a coach came in, goes, oh, I'm super fit, and then never retested and slowly again got worse over time. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Because the natural law is atrophy. Like, if you don't do it, you're just gonna get worse and worse. But and I will just kind of, as a little bit of a spoiler, like, these standards are below average.
Low. Yeah.
These standards are low. These are not high fitness standards. And then I was kind of just going to look up. I didn't have time, but looking up just what percentage of the population are obese. I would assume it is relative to the failure rate.
Yeah, and sorry, I would think as well. I think 1.6 is a pretty good. That's a pretty good pass rate, to be fair. Like,
exactly. If less than 20% of people are failing, I would say it again, the test is too easy.
Yeah, same.
But again,
very doable.
What's the bell curve? What's the bell curve thing?
Yeah,
It's not like
let's have a look here. Let me read through what the actual fitness test is, and then we'll go from there. So there's two components to the fitness test. There's a fitness test, and then there's a physical competence test. So one is like just kind of cardio and strength standards, and the other one's like a little bit of an obstacle course. Okay, so the cardio test is essentially the shuttle run. Okay, so the shuttle run or the beep test. Okay, and then there's a sit-up test. Okay, so a 1 minute sit-up test, and then a no time limit press-up test. So you can rest for as long as you need to here as well, which is I don't know, doesn't seem right to me.
It does because absolute beginners really struggle with recovery. See if you.
But do we want to be recruiting people that from a physical competency standpoint are absolute beginners? Like people should be, I would assume like.
I agree.
Or should be intermediate. Should be above average at the least.
I know, but that's my point. Remember, it's like you are talking to people who set this test have a very low standard. So like,
no, again, they consulted experts, whatever that means. So I assume they're talking like sports scientists, etc. I would assume.
Who's the Minister for Justice? Is it Simon Harris?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I doubt it.
He was the Minister for Education, and he like not necessarily have to be college educated, but to be the Minister for Education, I think would be useful to be college educated. But anyway,
how can you just jump from being the minister of one thing to another thing?
The party essentially it's not done on merit. The party essentially just pick who's going to be in charge. You don't necessarily need to. Again, I feel like there's many people out there, myself included, that would love a world where that the Minister for Transport is an engineer, the Minister for Health is a doctor, the Minister for Enterprise is an entrepreneur, etc. That people actually have experience in the things that they're making big decisions on. But unfortunately, that is not the world we live in. But again, this beep test, and again, I know one of them was put in our Facebook group about doing this. I think we might do this as a workout, or we might just do it as an extra kind of little event on a Sunday for some fun. But essentially, it's a 20 minute shuttle run. So anyone who's done the beep test in school, put cones 20 meters apart. There's a beep. You have to hit the cone by the beep, and then obviously over time the beeps get faster and faster. So you can see what the standards are here. So 18 to 25-year-old for males, it's 8.8. For females, it's 7.6. So that would be level 8, shuttle 8. So like there's different in every level. There's a certain amount of shuttles. 8.1, etc. So that kind of means nothing unless we kind of put some standards on it. Okay, so let's see here. So what we I've kind of got this up from brianmac.co.uk, which is a pretty decent website for this kind of stuff, and the source of this is it's Bisley K et al. 2010 BTEC for Sport Level 2, so it's kind of reference from a study. And let me see. So the standards here, the average, okay, in that age range, 21 to 30, average is 9.3. Okay, so average is 9.3 for 21 to 30. And 31 to 40, it's 6.10, so it's less than 7. Here in the Garda test, these are all below average. So you need to have a below average standard of fitness to pass, which again in itself is, not good. It's like that whole thing. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. The kind of the culture that they're creating with these low tests. Or low standards, is perpetuating a certain culture, especially when there's no follow up. But again, I've had not loads, but maybe I would say 3 or 4 people who've come and done a program, and I went on and smashed the test. A lot of the ladies do struggle with the upper body strength, because that just can take a certain amount of time to kind of build the muscle mass, build the strength. But then I seen in that video, because that's the thing I wasn't sure about. This is the only thing that I would have said might have been difficult, was the number of sit-ups for females.
Yeah, that was pretty decent.
If they were full push-ups, that would be pretty good. But again, I seen in the video there,
kneeling
on the thing, and it was modified push-ups from the knees. So again, that there should be is not necessarily a high standard either.
So here's one thing I would say. Sorry, this is just after kind of coming. It's like obviously once you're out of school, it's very easy to kind of like make mistakes as to kind of what you're saying is like. And one thing I would say, like just kind of based off like all this kind of stuff, is like, are we overly estimating just kind of in our head how physical the Garda job is? Like, it's probably not that physical in general. Like, why would you need to be that fit to stand there at a fucking at a checkpoint, to make house calls when you have your taser there and you have your things. Like realistically, all you need to do is have a bit of strength in numbers and out weapon your thing. It's like, yeah, fair enough. Every once in a while you're going to be chasing someone down. Every once in a while you'll be breaking up an altercation. But it's like, I would say for the vast majority, it's not a very physical job at all.
That is exactly that is true. That's why. Sorry, Chris.
I say most of the time they spend it sitting in a squad car, doing their patrols and doing all that sort of
100%.
stuff, or in an office filling out forms and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think there's systems. I think the systems in place that they have and the procedures that they have are where the strength lies, rather than the actual physical fitness.
For me, it's not that. It's for me, it's just about culture. It's just a question of culture. Who do we want our frontline people who are essentially protecting and serving us? What is the standard? What is the culture? These people should be, in prime physical condition. I also think it's a matter of respect. Whether we like it or not, when you see a guard walks up to you and they're 3 stone overweight, there's less respect than somebody who walks up, and looks like they train, let's say. And you hear this all the time. Every time we go on holidays, or say with a group of friends, and we're in, say, somewhere like Spain or Italy or something like that, and they say, people always comment on the physicality of the guards, ladies in general, typically, about how fit and strong they look. And again, people just have more respect for people that are in good physical condition, especially in these types of roles.
In position of authority as well.
Yeah, you take authority and then intimidation factor of just authority and intimidation factor of good shape. Like that's because even a fat slob of a guard or a policeman walking up to you is pretty intimidating. You're kind of like, oh right, okay, right, the long arm of the law, here we go. And then you like, they have a stern look in their eye and they're in shape. You're like, all right, let's fucking pay attention. This is what looks like he can handle himself or handle me, even worse.
Yeah. So what I want to ask the listeners, do you guys think, based on these standards that we have on screen, if anyone does remember the fitness test, do you think you could score below average in the multi-stage run or the beep test? And could you do, when it comes to say fitness standards, could you do 35 sit-ups as a male in 1 minute and 30 sit-ups
anchored
as a
sit-ups,
female in 1
or
minute?
anchored sit-ups. You have somebody holding their feet. So
yeah.
Even
out
easier.
Of curiosity, let me see if I can actually.
100%. I could 100. I'd be ashamed if I couldn't do this. To be fair.
Yeah, listen. I kind of feel like you could, like, most people, like most people in our gym, anyone orange or above anyway could just could walk in tomorrow and pass this test.
Oh, yeah, I would say the vast majority of Fighting Fit members would smash this.
Well, why is there not pull-ups on this as well? Like, there's no.
Well, and remember, the standards are quite low because, again, they are afraid to deter people from failing. And again, I would say because, like, this is not a physical job. It's like, it is to some degree. And yes, obviously you want that intimidation factor. But I just feel like in Ireland, they don't necessarily prioritize fitness because, again, I feel like it's not a high status job. It's like it's probably like not a crazy well-paying job, and it's probably not a crazy high status job. So the demand for it's kind of like, right, okay, right. How do we get more people in? Let's lower the barrier to entry. And fitness, especially in the Irish culture, is not something that is like gen pop of people are weak and overweight in Ireland, the general population. And
what's the obesity rate? Is it 50% yet?
It's not far off. I think it's about 40%. Well, because when you're talking about it's about, I think it's about 65% overweight. And then, maybe 25, but roughly about a quarter would be considered obese.
And remember, you don't have to be overweight to be weak, and you don't have to be overweight to fail these tests. Like, you could be perfectly, quote unquote, normal weight and still fail all these tests just by not being fit. You can't run your cardiovascular, like, no upper body strength. And again, like, most people, when you're not doing stuff that you do regularly, you can't do sit-ups. Like, most people just couldn't do 35 sit-ups. Just off the bat, like your average person who doesn't train. Like, most of our clients can do them because most of them are training. Most people in most gyms could probably do this test.
But to be fair, like, even though, like the setup standards aren't terrible there for, especially if you're 18 to 25.
Anchored. You're anchored.
Not terrible.
Big
25 sit-ups in a minute. Like, I'm just saying, like, you're doing one sit-up less than every 2 seconds. Like, it's decent.
It's 90 seconds.
Who's 25 push-ups? If that was in a minute, that would be fairly rough.
Yeah, if you do a couple, take a 3-second rest.
Can we talk about how easy it is to maintain this level of fitness or even get to this level of fitness? Like let's say you're out of shape, you haven't trained, you're probably about 10, 15 kilos overweight. How long do you think it would take and how much training do you think you'd have to do to get yourself up to scratch to hit these standards?
I think it depends how much weight you're carrying, because that will significantly impact the short run.
10 to 15 kilos.
The push-ups. I would say, like, if you're overweight, carrying maybe an extra couple of stone, like, I feel like you could smash this test in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. And then, like, maintaining it would require training 3 times a week, less. Yeah, 2 times a week.
3 times a week. Total body training.
What about the fact that these aren't reassessments? These are entry level tests, and the standards like drift massively. It's like, right, well, your X years or Y years, and it's like, right, well, we're just going to drop the standard for you. It's like, well, why? Again, I said the same thing with the men and women. It's like, what is the requirement for fitness here? Like, is it just like be decently strong, or is there a standard of performance? Like, again, like, let's take down the only real altercations. Someone now grabs you at the chest. Now you have to physically battle. It's like, well, lowering the standard for push-ups for ladies is going to be of no service to them in that situation. And then again, let's say you have to chase someone down. I don't know if that's ever the case for 200 meters. It's like, well, we're going to put that the average, the average criminal can run at X pace. Everybody has to be able to catch them. Age, weight, doesn't matter. It's like, you have to be able to catch them. You have to be able to catch them, and you have to be able to push somebody off you. So you have to be X strong, and you have to be able to run X fast. It's like, that's the general standard. Otherwise, just kind of like, well, if you're 45, just don't get into an altercation. Well, if you're 45, you're just never going to chase anybody because we've just lowered the standard. You'll never catch anybody. It's like, the standard just not be the standard? And it's like, and then again, if it was a retest, I might lower the standards because people are going to change. And obviously, as you get older, we're not expecting you to be at peak physical fitness. But it's like, are we trying to recruit guards who are 45 years of age? Or
anywhere else sort of Stephen glitching out?
Yeah, my camera keeps glitching, but as long as my audio is good, it's all G. No, Brian, I totally agree. Yeah, this whole thing about, like, the fitness test and the standards, like, what does it mean to be fit for life? For me, it's like all about, especially in a protect and serve role. For me, it's just all about, like, am I fit enough to let's say save Molly if I needed to? If I needed to run a mile home, like I've often done, as anyone play these games, was have there for a run, and then you play these games and like, all right, the last kilometer or something like that, all right, the house is on fire, I have to get there quick, and you just to kind of give yourself that extra 10%, maybe just me, but that kind of stuff, like. Being able to do these kind of things, like that's what true fitness for life means. And then even like with me and Chris were in Portugal there, and I kind of said this to him. It was like, when we were out doing the kayak and like the sea was choppy, and it was just like, I was like, just remember thinking, like, in my mind, I was just like, this is why I train, so that I can do these kinds of things. That whereas there was several people I talked to previously that like wouldn't even go into water, wouldn't even attempt it. All too choppy, too fearful, that they just don't have the physical competency to navigate the world once things get a little bit difficult. To be able to swim, to be able to kayak, to be able to hike, to be able to run, to be able to swim, to be able to do all these things that, when you do them, obviously you have to step outside your comfort zone a little bit, but they bring a lot of joy, and they're kind of very, very, say, unique and cool experiences.
And so it's like, right, so what is the crack? Like, is it reasonable to ask someone to drop 20 kilos and take up fitness as their passion to be a guard like that? Because that's really what you're talking about, and that includes like,
no, but as Chris said there, like, it doesn't require that. Like, it really, like, this generally only requires the minimum standard of fitness to be considered a healthy individual. This isn't even necessarily being exceptional anywhere.
I'm not talking about these standards. I'm talking about, is it like that? Because the question is, should we raise the standards? So it's like, should we have hard standards that are actually difficult? Like, let's say orange, like a fight and fit level method guys, orange, break, and blue. Like, I would say I know a couple of people who are struggling to get their blue, who I would consider pretty damn fit, and it's like. That's not even a really high level athlete. That's just like a keep fitter who's really climbed the ranks. It's like, that's the level I would expect most guards to be at. And I would say most guards, based off these tests, are barely scratching like halfway up to orange. Like they're just not.
No, and I'm sure no, but also at the same time, I feel like I'm assuming we're talking about I think it's important to kind of give a context that we're talking about slightly less than a 20% failure rate. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of guards that go in there and absolutely destroy this. There's probably loads of them. It's not necessarily fair to kind of tar everybody with the brush and say like the standards across the board are low, because there is some very fit guards and a lot of them, play GA, play sports that would be considered well
some do jiu-jitsu. Some do jiu-jitsu really well too.
And that's the thing, because I was going to say, like, I think I've had like 4 or 5 dealings with guards, like where maybe I've had to call them or they've shown up, and and to be fair, like, lads, nearly 6 foot, ladies, slim, lean, and again, pair them together, a good solid force. It's like, oh yeah, thank God you've arrived, So it's like it's not like. Oh, but I'm just saying, it's like when we're talking about, it's like, why are we lowering the standard when people like that exist?
Why is there even talk of lowering the standards? Whereas the guy at the end rightly says the standards actually need to go up because this needs to be retested. Yeah. Again, I would say yearly or every 6 months, because it's a physical job. If you call somebody and you're in a vulnerable position, like you need somebody that's physically competent to help you navigate the situation, especially when it comes to things like the domestic violence, or even like helping people out of dangerous situations, car crashes, etc.
I wonder
even the drag test. The drag test is to drag a 45 kilogram dummy. It's like, and you have to drag it 2 meters. It's like
2 meters.
What are we dragging? Like fucking children? We're not like, you could like like your typical adult is 75 to 85 kilograms, and now that more and more people overweight, we're talking 90, 100 kilos. Like, it's very, very hard to shift someone like that. Like when somebody's a dead weight, to kind of drag them across the floor is extremely difficult.
But again, in fairness, guards normally travel in pairs. So 2 by 45 is 90 kilos. So they could, in theory, together move it.
Possibly.
Maybe that's the thinking.
Yeah, and again, like I said, and this isn't to necessarily kind of to have a go at guards overall, because again, I do believe that most guards are above average fitness. I would hope so anyway. But it's like, just like there should definitely be a fight to not lower the standards. Like all this stuff, this participation trophies, etc. Like this stuff does not work. Everybody should be praised for effort, but at the end of the day, there's going to be winners and losers in life, and the winner, like if all you have is sport, like you need to give these kids the praise and the recognition that they deserve. Like, and everybody should be rewarded for showing up. It's kind of the whole mantra of like stepping into the ring. Everybody should be rewarded for that, but the winners are the winners for a reason.
Yeah, like I'm saying, there should be objective metrics. 100%. It's like it shouldn't just all
completely objective. It can't just all be emotion. This is the problem. Like we live in the world now where like we got like some people are pure emotionally brained, some people are pure logically brained, and then you've got some people in the middle that can actually use both sides of their brain. But that's kind of what I'm afraid to offend people, especially when it comes to to life and death situations, where no matter if that's 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 call outs, you need to be physically prepared for that as a baseline.
I was thinking that there should be specialist rules, the same way to do it in the army, and different standards for different things. Like if you're calling for domestic violence and to stuff where you have to chase people and you're in the street and all that sort of stuff, I think maybe there should be a special rule for that. There was a thing I heard in a podcast recently where they said that they should change the rules change the uniform for police that are, let's say, Joe, on the beat, actually stopping crime and all that sort of stuff, and someone who's like giving out tickets, being like giving traffic violations, all that. So like that you see them differently, that like you don't associate someone in a uniform who's there to help you and save you and protect you with someone who's going to nab you and get you for a little crappy stupid thing for speeding 5 kilometers over the thing or something like that. And it would change the way you view it entirely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but maybe then it's like kind of like, oh, okay, oh, well, it's only them. We'll fucking X, Y, or Z now. It's like we'll kind of get away with it now. There's the lads, there's the heroes. Oh, just be careful. You kind of watching out for them maybe a little more. And some would be again viewed differently, but for the negative, it's kind of like, oh, well, now spot the difference. Whereas like at least before, it's like, because again, I imagine like the big issue having this conversation is like, I imagine they're stuck for numbers. So it's like you can't just specialize.
You're looking for 1,000 new recruits.
Yeah, so it's like, lads, we need everybody we can get. It's like, here, lads, fair enough. It's like you're going on call. It's like we're after getting 5 calls tonight. You know, everybody's busy. We've got one more. Out you go. You know, I imagine that's kind of the way it is. And I imagine
I would just really love to see. I would just really love to see the government sector kind of integrate more with gyms and personal trainers, etc. To kind of, you know, to be seen as more of a resource for this kind of stuff, especially kind of as we noticed through COVID, etc. You know, like people who are in good physical condition, you know, are at significantly lower risk of, say, you know, being hospitalized, etc. Like significantly, like way less. And there's huge amounts of data to support that. But especially with stuff like this, so it's like, fair enough. Why not fund a set of 6-week training program? You know, like there's people that do, people that specialize. And I'm sure there's a couple of guys that have that niche that probably are close to Templemore, where the guards are trained, that have got their special 6-week pass the Garda test program. But you could roll something like that out nationally, and you know,
or
more so for the general population to kind of go through it. Because I think it's quite interesting. Even though this kind of sparked this conversation, members are kind of asking to do the test to kind of see, are they fitter than a guard, kind of thing. So I think it could obviously be done much better. But again, there's much more resources and people want to help. People want a fit, strong, healthy force, because again, we all do appreciate the frontline workers and the work that they do, because they don't necessarily always get a lot of thanks for it.
It's a risky job. Again, especially when you get into the latter parts of the country, like more dangerous places. I'm sure like guards in Dundalk have a lot easier than guards in Dublin. Maybe I'm wrong.
Depends who you're talking to. There's dangerous people everywhere.
I think if you put up a prize for coming up with that thing, that's a solution to that problem. To come up with lots of different really good solutions. Like even if it was just like if it was €10,000 or a contract of €10,000 to train the guards for 6 weeks, which is like fucking, I don't know, like 40 people or something like that there. I think if they did that, I don't know if that works out economically, but if like I've seen people on YouTube basically for like €10,000 for $10,000, that was the prize. It wasn't even guaranteed that they're going to get it. Like speedrun games that take like fucking 30 hours to do, and they'll end up doing it in like 5 minutes, and they'll come up with all of these massive, intricate ways to get around the loopholes in the game and all that sort of stuff to cut everything down. But it's like, not only did like one person do that, but like 40 or 50 people tried to do it, and they were all communicating, and everyone came into this and come up with like a really good solution to do it. And it was just one prize, one little thing to do it. And I think if we did that with some solutions, like here's the thing for solving this problem, and they'd get a bunch of ideas thrown at it, and then they'd solve it with the best idea, or they'd keep hitting it with the hammer until the best idea stuck. And I always think that's a really good solution for a lot of things that people have, or that society has a problem with.
Yeah, because they were sharpen the saw, and the collective mind. You know, this is kind of the problem I feel with the public sector or the government. Let's say just lacks efficiency, lacks innovation. It's not incentivized. Let's say. Whereas when you said economically, like as far as I'm aware, people are allowed to retest, keep coming and keep retesting this again and again and again. So, you know, if they decrease the failure rate, costs, I'm sure the cost resources, the tests need manned and scored, and the facilities, etc. So if there was a lower failure rate, I'm sure it would save money over the long run. But also then just the benefit of having a stronger, fitter, healthier force, I think would be a net benefit.
Yeah. Well, regardless of like, again, subjectively, you know, Ireland's current situation, you know, finances, economics, all that kind of stuff. Without taking any of that, objectively, these standards are too low. Like we already said, they're below average. It's like 100%.
According to the data, according to the study that was done, these are below average. So you don't even have, you don't even have to have an average level of fitness test. Yeah. I'm only looking at the beep test, which is essentially a VO2 max test. So you need a slightly below average VO2 max to pass the Garda test. Some of the strength standards seem okay. I don't necessarily have a reference point for them or a benchmark. They seem maybe a little bit higher than the cardio, but again, they're not amazing either.
So here's one thing I would say. It's kind of like, right, obviously, look, we can kind of, obviously we don't want to blame anybody. That's the kind of key. But is it fair to ask people who are in a culture that doesn't prioritize health and fitness who doesn't, like, for talk's sake, like all kids, you know, especially nowadays as the kind of culture changes, like, are opting out of PE. You know, it's like I remember listening to Kelly Starrett and Ben Patrick kind of talking about, you know, going for an hour walk every day. It's like that's not a priority in terms of like the school's time resource. You know, like in the hour of a day, like how much physical fitness is actually valued can be measured in terms of, you know, time, energy, and money. And so it's like how much time, how much energy, and how much money is prioritizing physical fitness and nutrition. So like, again, by the time you get somebody and they're 18 to 30 years of age and they want to be a guard, it's like, well, this country, through their priorities, has fucked them up because we prioritize sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day. And I know so many people who have bad knees, bad ankles, bad shoulders. And so it's therefore not fair to ask that person, okay, now all of a sudden express above average fitness. And it's like, oh, well, I fucking can't. It's like, I know, again, we could take extreme ownership and, you know, self-ownership. And it's like, well, you should have been in sport and stretch and all this kind of stuff yourself. Maybe it's not the school, the education system to educate you on that. But it's like, at some level, it's like, you know, are these other cultures who have these, you know, above the Irish standard anyway, you know, fitness levels and physiques and all this kind of stuff, it's like, is that starting at a grassroots level? And is that maybe where the problem is?
I think it's a good point.
That would absolutely, that's a really good point. The 3 time, energy, and money for understanding the priorities of it. And when you look at it like that, it's not prioritized much at all. There's what, like maybe an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours of PE a week in school. But in saying that, there are like, anytime there's like Gaelic or anything like that on, like most secondary schools are pretty you know, like patriotic in that regard. Yeah, like and they put a lot of effort into it and all that sort of stuff too. So I think that's,
but again, like an awful lot of that is competitive sport and not investing in the individual for the individual's sake. It's like, right, okay, we're all about this because we're trying to win a championship, we're trying to achieve something. It's not about instilling this just in the individual, just so that individual can have it for themselves. Like it's all competitive, which is fantastic. I love competitive sports, but I mean, like, it's not just going, hey Sally, I know, you know, it's your time of the month, and you know you feel like you can't exercise or whatever like that, because that's a big problem for young girls. It's like, look, like there should be a system for it. It's like, right, what would they do that they would enjoy doing? You know,
biggest problem in for PE in schools, people can't shower. They don't have enough time to shower. Nobody wants to go out and get all sweaty and have to sit in their smelly uniform.
Steven's triggered. That's happened to Steven.
But again, it's a good point.
I like sitting. I didn't mind, but I completely understand the point of a girl. Like, you know, like you just try down a towel and whatever. Just read the pen. Like if you got PE first, you know, 9 to 11 or whatever, that kind of 2 hour block. Then you're sitting there stinking all day. And again, like kids are self-conscious. Nobody wants to be smelly. And again, kids do smell. Like the class room would stink after PE. You know, because everyone's out kind of playing, doing their bits. Like you barely have time to get changed. It's 2 hours max total. So it's just not sufficient. Like, whereas it should be a half day once a week or something like that. To give people ample time. But sorry guys, just as you guys were talking about that there, what I done was I actually had a look at the Spanish police, for example, their fitness test. Let me see if I pull this up. And it seems to be significantly higher. Let's see here.
Interesting.
It's not the same. It's not the same standards, but it's. Let me see.
It looks a lot
I can just tell by this cardio. I won a pass for a 1,000 meter run, which is 1 kilometer, is 3 minutes 40 seconds, and that's a quick kilometer. You know, so there we're talking 8 reps, chin ups.
Wait there, 1 second.
You have to do 8 chin ups. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So 50 meter sprint, 7.4 seconds. Broad jump, 220 meters. You know, that's pretty badass. Once you've taken this test, you go through a police training academy, which lasts 9 months. To get the academy is very difficult due to the volume of applicants. They usually have more than 40k applicants a year. Out of the 40 aspirants, only about 2,000. I think that kind of goes back to the point you said at the start, Brian. Like, if there was a higher standard, it would attract a better quality of applicant, and then it would just make it more, give the role maybe more prestige.
Sorry, I just did the maths there. Maybe our conversions are a little bit. No, they're probably not. So that is a 5.67 minute mile pace.
And that's like they say, like less than a 7 minute mile is good. That should pass. And this is on.
That's insane. That's really, really, really good.
But again, this isn't an official.
That's a 17-minute 5K. If you were to have to repeat that 5 times, now obviously that's the difference. Is it's a sprint, like you only have to do it once. But I mean, like I said, maybe not. Let's round it up, but like 18 to 19-minute 5K pace for 1K. So that's.
Yeah, what was our broad jump?
That's what I'm saying. I was looking at it already. My broad jump, I'm pretty sure, was like 180 centimeters. Like it wasn't crazy.
Wait there, it's not 180. It's
Is that ridiculous?
No, it was tiny. Like ours is like fucking. I remember it was like 2.2. It was at least 2.2.
You could jump at least a length of yourself and a half.
Right. I'll be back. I'm gonna go test my broad jump. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Go for it. Increase your pull-ups. Yeah, that is insane. That's actually because even just the fact to be able to do that just as the passing grade, but again, it goes to show. It goes to show when you kind of look at these cops, to kind of see the physicality of them. But that is insane. The stand like that is such a big difference. I must double check to see if I can find an official. If anybody does know what the official standards are, let us know.
It's like 2.3, so that's pretty decent.
So you pass. Yeah, it's 220.
What's gold?
The top standard. Let me just go back here.
And this is what I really like as well. Just kind of look at those standards.
Goal is 236.
Yeah, it's very small. You know what I mean? Like the increments is like, oh, cool. You get like progressed on for very little increments because the base standard is so wide. We don't like, like the little fucking tiny.
Now, if I go to Spain and I see a policeman, I instantly have like way more respect for them. I'm like, oh man, wow, that's I'm like, fair play.
Badass.
Okay, wow, and then here, let me actually share this again, because I think this just gives a very interesting context for anybody watching. Let me see if I can share my screen again here, because they give the standards you guys said for all the different kind of categories. I'm not sure what this means. The chart standards GEO. Obviously, there's swimming in here, and a vertical jump, so the tests are slightly different. But even this one is 10 chin-ups. You know, 3,000 meter run in 12 minutes.
3K 12 minutes.
We're talking like 4 minute kilometers, and now we're kind of getting into fitness.
Well, it says this is the special operations group, isn't it?
GEO, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this one here. Like, let's just kind of have a look at this one. Maybe
police,
just regular police. Yeah, that's the first one I was looking at, though, as far as I know. Past 25 meters without a break, parkour, whatever. That must be obviously some sort of obstacle course. 1 mile run in 6 minutes. So a 6 minute mile, 50 sit-ups, 40 reps, 40 push-ups, and parkour. I assume it's an obstacle course, and then you have to be able to swim 25 meters as well.
Lads, we should 100% do like a what police would you be? You know, and maybe possibly
we should definitely do that. Any members that listen. Any members that listen, let us know if you want to try the guards test to see if you would pass, and then also if you'd like to see myself and the lads do we blog on us attempting the guards test, but then also maybe testing some more elite physical tests just to see how we get on.
Very badass.
All right, cool. So yeah, any questions or comments before we finish up, guys?
Look at that video, Chris.
You don't know Pete.
Oh, Pete.
Oh, Chris, you didn't think that.
There's Pete.
Nice.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So guys, any comments or anything to kind of before we finish up?
Yes. What do you think the standard should be? Like in actual numbers. What do you think that we should test on? What do you think the standard should be? And then if you end up using it, we can get credited.
I think that the typical guard, just using because I'm sure most of our listeners are members. I think it should be orange 2 on our system. So it should be orange 2 or above on the level method system. That for me would be considered an above average level of fitness. I think technically yellow 2 would be considered average, but again, there should be slightly above average. I think orange 2 all around. That means ladies can do full push-ups, etc. You're running. What is it like? You're not even running full miles. Yeah, you're in 400 meters in like 2.5 minutes. So it's a decent standard of fitness. That's kind of where I feel people should be at a minimum. I feel like even the Spanish police then as I said in their thing, like they get more applicants, they turn more people away because the standards are higher. So I just think it just really speaks to Brandon's point at the start about changing the culture and the prestige associated with the job.
Not only that, I wonder what the wage is. That's what I like. That's like, is it a better wage?
I doubt it's much. I honestly doubt it. Spain especially does not have a particularly strong economy. I doubt that they're paying their police relatively more than the Irish police are getting paid. Let's say
relatively, that would be the question. That's what I'd wonder. Is it relative? You know, and then is Spanish crime worse? You know, like is it an easier job or is it a harder job? You know, it's like, you know, do Irish people, like, for let's say a relative, for the same wage, or they've been asked to deal with more crime? It's like, because again, that will deter people away.
What would it deter you more? Like, let's say knowing that the police are super fit and super strong.
Like, maybe not.
I think that would act as a massive deterrent. Like knowing that, like, if you run that, like, they're quick on their feet and they're going to catch you. Like, you can't get away. Whereas I would bet on myself, even I'm not even exceptionally fit, that I could beat most cops in a foot race, unless they're
any guard that want to challenge Stephen to a foot race. If you're listening, let's do it. Let's organize it. You can meet. We'll have a 1K race between you and Stephen. Winner gets 100.
We'll just go down to the shopping center and we'll find a garden and just start running.
just keep something.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
So guys, so we'll wrap it up there. Before we finish up, I just want to give a wee plug to our 2 new programs starting on Monday. Anybody who is listening, if you want to lose a little bit of weight, the Kickstarter challenge is the best challenge for you. It is a weight loss challenge. The goal of the challenge is to lose 14 pounds in just 42 days, which would be 2.3 pounds a week, which is what I would consider a stretch target. It's not necessarily, let's say, extreme weight loss where you're losing maybe 3 or 4 pounds a week. It's not just a pound either. So it does require a decent amount of prioritization and dedication to achieve it. But again, we've done it with hundreds and hundreds of people at this point. And as well as that, we do focus on building healthy habits, and there is an ample amount of support. We text you daily. There's calls when you're not showing up, etc. So it is our highest level of accountability. So anybody wants to let that kick off
calls as well. So you know, it's like you can literally get as much.
We said, like, we literally, if you're genuinely honest and willing to change your life, like, we've got more help than you need. There's almost too much help for some people. So if you're into that, the Kickstarter challenge starts on January the 30th, depending on when you're listening to this, January 30th, 2023. And we also have the new men's boxing boot camp starting on January the 30th as well. This will be slightly more advanced than, let's say, your typical boxer size, or let's say box fit class. There is much more emphasis on technique, footwork, fitness. We will be incorporating a little bit more strength and conditioning into this boot camp. And as well as that, as with all our programs, we offer one-on-one support on the back end. You will get a personalized meal plan. There is weekly check-ins. We do weigh-ins, this kind of stuff as well. So you want to turn into a lean, mean fighting machine, just drop a few pounds before the summer, drop a few pounds of the old Christmas weight. We've got 2 great opportunities for you to do that, starting on January 30th, the men's boxing bootcamp and the Kickstarter challenge, which is our most successful program to date. Anything to add on any of them, lads?
If you are a guard and have recently failed a fitness test, well, we have the program for you. You could join our 6-week Kickstarter or men's boxercise course, and we will 100% get you into the shape that you need to pass that test for certain.
Guaranteed results or your money back. That is the promise. Listen, we give all the steps, all the structure. If you just show up and do the things that you said you do at the start, and you don't get the results that we said you would, we do give full refunds. It's never happened because fitness is easy. It's easy. It's easy in theory. It's simple in theory. It's harder in practice. But it's not, because again, we help people focus on what we consider to be the KPIs. Are you showing up to the gym? How many calories are you eating? How active are you being? What's your sleep looking like? We can track all of this stuff with basic technology in 2023, thankfully. So although you might get in your head, you might get a little bit emotional, a little bit stressed out, lack time management, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of coaching. There's weekly check-ins. There's coaching calls. There's goal reviews. We've got a lot of these systems in place to help you be proactive and overcome these obstacles. Because again, fitness is simple in theory. If you show up, you do the work, you get great results 100% of the time. Nobody that's used, let's say, MyFitnessPal or followed their meal plan or macros 90% of the time has got anything but a world-class transformation over, say, a 6 to 12 week period. So if you're ready to change your life, we would be more than happy to help.
I was watching a video on TikTok, and there was a guy, and he basically referenced a study where they followed a group of people who were following a 1,200 calorie diet, and they couldn't lose weight. And so basically they followed them around and they measured or managed whoever that did it. And essentially what would happen is that these people would just constantly over-report the amount of food that they had. They'd overestimate how much activity they were doing, and they'd underestimate how much junk food and calories were in all the rubbish food that they were doing. And again, it's not down to these people being bad people and being liars, is that they were just not being aware and not being mindful, because they were, again, like we all do it, they're biased to what they like and biased to what they don't like.
The easiest person to fool is yourself. We all have blind spots that we're not even aware of. That's why they're blind spots, and this is kind of why working with a coach, having that second pair of eyes that can kind of just help you reframe things, refocus, make sure that you're putting your effort and your energy on the things that actually matter and not on the things that don't matter. But that's kind of why we do what we do, and that's kind of why we've built the program that we've built that so that you can get unlimited access to a coach. You can speak to a coach in person every single week if you want to. We really do try and make ourselves available. We do want to be the last stop on your fitness journey, and then hopefully you stay with us for life. Out of interest, or out of a point of interest, if any of our members noticed in our group, although we kind of run these things like the Kickstarter challenges, which promise say a big result over a relatively short period of time, it is designed to be a kickstart and to help you build genuine habits and change your life. Over 25% of our members have been with us for 5 years, and then there's maybe another 16% have been with us for over 4 years, and then another maybe 12-15% have been with us 3 years. So the vast majority of our members have been with us for several years. This is kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to make high quality coaching a more affordable and more sustainable part of people's lives. That's kind of really what we're trying to do, because we find 99% of people aren't successful in the gyms. They just don't work. They get access to nice equipment, but it's like buying that fucking ab machine on fucking late night shop on TV. You think this piece of equipment is going to change life? It's not. You get it all starts from within. It's structure, it's routine, it's support, it's managing your emotions, it's managing your time. These are the skills that you need to develop over the long term to be successful. We all fuck up. Nobody's perfect, but just having somebody as you drift that just gets you back on track. You miss a couple of sessions, we pick up the phone, we call you. It's that kind of place. So if you're looking for that and you're not a member yet, or if you were a member in the past, you want to get back to it, we'd be more than happy to help you. Understand life comes in seasons, people come and go. That's just part of the job. Like I said, we're always here to help.
Awesome stuff.
Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And I said, any guards that want to help as well, we'd be more than happy to help. Keep fighting the good fight. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Let's raise the standard. Let's raise the standard. Let's raise it.
Right, peace, guys. See you later.
Good luck.